Imagine stepping onto a battlefield during one of the deadliest wars in history with no weapon to defend yourself. Bullets fly overhead, explosions shake the ground beneath you, and the screams of the wounded echo in your ears. Everyone around you is armed, ready to kill or be killed. But you carry no gun, no knife, only your unwavering faith, and the belief that saving lives is more powerful than taking them. This is not a fictional story, this was the reality of Desmond Doss, a soldier who chose conviction over convention. During World War II, Doss faced unimaginable dangers without ever lifting a weapon. Instead, he relied on his courage, his resourcefulness, and his unshakable belief in the value of human life. Ridiculed, ostracized, and called a coward by his own comrades, Doss defied all odds to become one of the most extraordinary heroes in history. How did he save 75 lives in a single night armed with nothing but a rope and his prayers? What gave him the strength to face death head-on while refusing to compromise his beliefs? The answers to these questions reveal a story of bravery, faith, and determination that continues to inspire the world today. The world was in turmoil in the early 1940s. World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, was raging across Europe, the Pacific, and beyond. Countries were locked in a desperate struggle for survival, with the Axis powers led by Germany, Japan, and Italy seeking domination and the Allies fighting to restore peace. By 1941, the United States had entered the war following the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor. Patriotic fervor swept across the nation, and millions of men and women answered the call to serve. The stakes were higher than ever. Entire nations mobilized their economies, resources, and people to support the war effort. Battles were fought on land, at sea, and in the skies with unprecedented ferocity. Soldiers endured brutal conditions, endless trenches, dense jungles, and bombed-out cities became their grim reality. In the Pacific theater, the fight against Japan was especially grueling. Remote islands turned into bloody battlegrounds, each one costing thousands of lives. Among these was Okinawa, where the war reached its peak of devastation and chaos. During this time, military service was not just seen as a duty, it was considered the ultimate test of patriotism. For the vast majority of soldiers, this meant taking up arms to fight, kill, and survive. The idea of going into battle without a weapon was unthinkable, even to those who had deep religious or moral convictions. Yet, in the midst of this harsh reality, there was one man who dared to defy the norm. Desmond Doss, a devout Seventh-day Adventist from Lynchburg, Virginia, believed that taking a life even in war violated the commandments of his faith. While others picked up rifles, Doss picked up a medic's kit. He chose to serve not by killing, but by healing. In an era defined by violence and destruction, Doss's decision to step onto the battlefield without a weapon was not just unconventional, it was revolutionary. His story would soon become one of the most extraordinary and inspiring tales of World War II. Desmond Doss's story begins in Lynchburg, Virginia, where he was born on February 7, 1919. Growing up in a devout Seventh-day Adventist household, Doss's moral framework was shaped early on by his faith and his family. His father, a World War I veteran, shared stories of the horrors of war, instilling in Desmond a deep aversion to violence. But it was a framed image of the Ten Commandments hanging in their home that had the greatest influence. Thou shalt not kill wasn't just a commandment to Doss, it became a lifelong principle, guiding his every decision. As a young boy, Doss displayed an unshakable commitment to his beliefs. One story from his childhood stands out. While playing with friends, he saw two animals fighting and stepped in to separate them, unwilling to watch harm come to either. This compassion would define his character. Little did he know that years later, he would step into one of the deadliest environments imaginable, determined to save lives instead of taking them. When World War II erupted, the world was calling for men like Desmond to take up arms. Like millions of others, Doss felt the patriotic pull to serve his country. But how could a man whose faith prohibited him from even holding a weapon find his place in the military? The answer came when Doss realized he could serve as a medic, offering his skills to save lives rather than end them. Joining the army, however, was only the beginning of his battle. From the moment Doss enlisted, he faced relentless ridicule from his fellow soldiers. They saw him as a coward, someone who wouldn't have their backs when the fighting began. Basic training was brutal not because of the physical challenges, but because of the social isolation and abuse he endured. His comrades mocked his refusal to carry a gun, his observance of the Sabbath, and his unwavering prayers before every meal. Some even tried to get him discharged, believing he was unfit for military service. Despite the hostility, Doss never wavered. He believed that his role was to heal, to be a source of hope and humanity in the midst of chaos. Slowly, his actions began to speak louder than words. During training exercises, he demonstrated extraordinary stamina and resilience, often outperforming those who had mocked him. His dedication to caring for his unit, even in the smallest ways, began to change perceptions. But it was during the Battle of Okinawa in 1945 that Doss's true heroism emerged. This was not just any battle, it was one of the bloodiest and most harrowing conflicts of the Pacific theater. The Maeda Escarpment, known as Hacksaw Ridge, was a towering cliff that United States forces needed to capture from entrenched Japanese soldiers. The terrain was unforgiving, and the enemy was relentless, raining down artillery, grenades, and machine gun fire. When the battle began, Doss climbed the ridge alongside his unit, armed with nothing but his medic's bag and his faith. As the fighting intensified, casualties mounted. When the order came to retreat, many soldiers scrambled to descend the cliff, leaving behind the wounded who couldn't move on their own. But not Doss. He stayed behind, determined to save as many lives as he could. For 12 grueling hours, under constant enemy fire, Doss moved across the battlefield, finding wounded soldiers and dragging them to safety. He fashioned a rope sling to lower them one by one down the escarpment to medics waiting below. Each time he returned to the battlefield, he whispered a prayer, "Lord, please help me get one more." His bravery defied belief. At one point, he treated a soldier just a few feet from a Japanese bunker, risking his life to ensure that no one was left behind. He was wounded himself, hit by shrapnel and later shot in the arm, but even then, he refused to abandon his mission. By the end of the night, Desmond Doss had single-handedly saved 75 men. The soldiers who had once mocked him now regarded him with awe. Their ridicule turned into respect, their disbelief into admiration. They called him the Angel of Hacksaw Ridge, a title that perfectly captured his selflessness and courage. Doss's actions during the battle earned him the Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration in the United States. When President Harry Truman presented the award, he told Doss, "I'm proud of you. You really deserve this. I consider this a greater honor than being president." But Doss's heroism wasn't just about bravery, it was about staying true to his convictions, even when the world seemed to stand against him. His journey from an unassuming young man in Virginia to a battlefield legend is a testament to the power of faith, perseverance, and the belief that one person can make a difference. Despite his extraordinary heroism during World War II, Desmond Doss's story has not received the same enduring recognition as other war heroes. This obscurity can be attributed to several factors, some rooted in Doss's own personality and others in the way history tends to prioritize certain narratives over others. First and foremost, Doss was a profoundly humble man who shunned the spotlight. After the war, he returned to a quiet life, avoiding public attention whenever possible. Unlike other Medal of Honor recipients who were celebrated in media or went on to write memoirs, Doss was content to let his actions speak for themselves. He believed that his service was simply his duty, not something that needed fanfare or public adulation. His reluctance to step into the limelight meant that his story wasn't widely shared for decades. Another reason for Doss's relative obscurity lies in the nature of war stories themselves. Popular culture often glorifies soldiers who demonstrate bravery through combat, those who storm enemy lines, lead daring offensives, or take down adversaries in dramatic confrontations. Doss's heroism, on the other hand, was defined by saving lives rather than taking them. As a medic who refused to carry a weapon, he didn't fit the traditional mold of a war hero. His story challenged conventional ideas of valor, making it harder for him to find a place in the popular imagination. Moreover, the passage of time has a way of overshadowing certain narratives. The vast scale of World War II means that countless stories of individual heroism have been lost or forgotten, particularly those that don't align with the dominant themes of military strategy and combat victories. Doss's incredible deeds at Hacksaw Ridge were remembered by those who served with him, but as the years went by, they became a footnote in the larger history of the war. It wasn't until decades later, with the release of the 2016 film Hacksaw Ridge, that Doss's story was brought back into the public eye. The film reintroduced his legacy to a new generation, highlighting his unwavering faith and selflessness. Yet even now, his name is not as widely known as other war heroes. Desmond Doss's story reminds us that history often overlooks those who act with quiet courage. His legacy is a testament to the power of principles and the enduring impact of doing what is right, even when it's not celebrated or remembered by all. Desmond Doss's legacy transcends the battlefield, offering a timeless example of courage, faith, and unwavering commitment to doing what is right. His extraordinary actions during the Battle of Okinawa continue to inspire people around the world, serving as a reminder that heroism is not defined by the ability to take life, but by the willingness to save it. His story holds special significance for those who face ethical dilemmas, proving that staying true to one's beliefs does not mean compromising on courage or effectiveness. Doss demonstrated that principles and patriotism can coexist, even in the most challenging circumstances. His bravery under fire has inspired not only those in the military but also countless individuals striving to live authentically and make a positive impact in their own lives. The recognition he received later in life, including the Medal of Honor, highlighted his unique contribution to history. The 2016 film Hacksaw Ridge brought his story to a global audience, reigniting interest in his life and values. Today, Doss stands as a beacon of hope, a man who proved that even in the horrors of war, humanity and compassion can prevail. His legacy reminds us that true heroism lies in selflessness and an unwavering belief in doing good. Desmond Doss showed us that true courage doesn't require a weapon, it requires conviction, compassion, and unwavering faith. His story is a beacon of hope, reminding us that even in the darkest moments, one person's actions can save lives and inspire generations. Who else do you think deserves to be remembered as a forgotten hero? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more untold stories of history.